left the game.
So this is... I don't actually know if this is Unranked Draft or Hero League. Maybe Lord Boo. It's his game. He would probably remember.
Time remaining.
But we're going to see PvE Samuro. Samuro is not really good at team fighting until 16, which I think a lot of people don't know about him. After his nerfs, he actually became basically terrible until 16 at straight up team fighting. If he can gank someone, if he can like duel someone 1v1, sometimes he can kill them. But he's really good at doing PvE. So if you draft him on a map like Warhead Junction, just constantly do camps, pressure, and try and be the guy who's at the altar or at the nuke that only one other person on the enemy team's at, and just try and delay them for as long as possible. Because you can delay for a long time with images. I know it's something Yuge has been doing a lot. Yuge will like exclusively pick Samuro and Warhead Junction in Hero League. You know, Grandmaster Hero League, and he'll just rotate around doing camps all game. But Way of the Blade is the easiest and the best talent to do that, just because you don't have to do any questing, where the other ones are both quests and they're questionable. But we have two globals. EDC will, of course, go stage dive versus just the ones. And this is like a relatively rough front line. Dahaka doesn't really have any engage potential, so they're going to wait until ETC comes onto them and then try and counter-initiate with Earthquake Drag and just kill him. But with the Zarya shielding, that shouldn't be an issue. I say that, but it probably is going to be an issue. Samuro is getting 3v1'd in the bot lane. This is something you can do, particularly on bigger maps, is just have a tri-lane, right? So there's two approaches to really, really big maps in terms of really good laning arrangements. There's 2-1-2 and 1-1-3. Notice that both of them involve having someone in the lane. It's a really good idea. If you go 1-1-3, the advantage is that if you have a really good push comp, like you have a Sylvanas, you have a Hammer, you have a Zarya, if you have like an Ariel plus the right counterpart heroes, you can basically just push forever, and it forces the enemy team to respond to you with 3 people, which means that if you're 3v3 in the bot lane and you drafted strong laners for the other 2 lanes, those lanes should be relatively solid. You should be good to go, and you should slowly, incrementally get an advantage. If you go 2-1-2, you don't necessarily have to have a super strong thing, but what you can do is, as soon as you see them responding to the 2 pushing really hard on the bottom, those 2 back up, and then you push really hard with the 2 on the top. And they can't be in 2 places at once, right? So it forces the enemy team to have a different strategy for how they want to deal with you, because they can't go just 1-1-3, because they're going to lose bottom slowly, and then they're going to lose top slowly. Or they're going to win top slowly. So you get this interesting dynamic. Any success in starting EU? Yes. Not yet. I have not gotten people who feel confident as drafters or shot callers and can also stream to volunteer. Again, if you are in EU and would like to do educational scrims as a captain, contact me. So those are the laning arrangements that you can have on the bigger maps that are considered standard and really, really solid. When I say standard, I mean like China likes 2-1-2 a lot, and no one else likes it, but the Chinese do really well with it. And then 1-1-3 is more standard in Korea, NA, and EU. So Zarya died, and this is not like that unexpected. You have 3 versus 2, and Zarya is like all the way up here. Of course she's gonna die. Like, someone needed to come down and help. Samuro died too.
Update. A player has rejoined the game.
We do see the rotation from ETC after they die, but they should have been playing much more cautiously. Like, you don't stick out that far in the lane 3v2. It just doesn't make sense to do that. ETC has 0 wave clear, so just casually waiting until he's get to the tower and using the tower to clear the wave is the correct decision. He should stay here. Samuro should be looking for the flank now that he has CC. The concern here is that Zarya has 0 energy, and she just let... Okay, so if you're playing Zarya, you want to be like, I'm about to take a bunch of damage, shield. Not only because it saves your real health bar, but because you get energy from it. Zarya just let Thrall Wind Fury her for the full duration of Wind Fury, all 3 hits without activating her shield. She just spawned. She just rode in here. Her shield was available. So Zarya has a lot less energy than she should, and a lot less health than she should. Doesn't even matter, though, because Zarya does a ridiculous amount of damage, as does Samuro with his clones, so Thrall ends up just dying. It's a really good power slide. And now they have an advantage in the lane, so they should just keep pushing. Samuro Zarya can push for a ton of time. There's no real reason to back up here. Oh, well, the objective spawning. Is that worth it? Yeah, I guess it's fine. They can get the kill here. You don't want to give vision, by the way. When you're rotating up like that, you want to always come through the smoke or come around from like this side. So if EDC had been here and waiting for Dahaka to overextend in and his team had been here, as soon as Dahaka started channeling, Dahaka is going to get attacked by both Samuro and Zarya, and then he's going to start to back up. And then as soon as you see him, you can start to rotate around as ETC. You can knock him back in with a W, and you're still getting focused, and then you stun him with Q, and then suddenly you're with your team, and you're all 3 completely safe, but he's basically dead. If it's like as soon as you lose the body block, you can get the stun with Q, and then be safe. But not such a big deal. They do get the nuke. Hopefully, Zarya doesn't just casually die to a Lili here. It's not very likely. So both nukes were claimed by the blue team. They want to use them. When you're on Warhead Junction, you want to focus on the side lane. So mid lane is basically irrelevant. You never want to use nukes in the mid lane. So when you have a nuke, you're asking yourself, do I save this or do you just go nuke right away? Generally speaking, if there's a fort up in either side lane, you just go nuke right away. And the way you want to position the nuke, we'll wait till someone uses one, but we're going to go over nuke positioning as soon as someone uses one. Because most people get it really wrong, and once you see what the nuke does, you'll understand why it's wrong. That's a dead Thrall with a power slide. Still a dead Thrall with a power slide. That could have happened like 10 seconds earlier. Okay, so this is actually this is the worst thing you can do. It is going to technically hit the fort, but you want to. This is close to what you want to do. The first nuke, if the entire area is alive, you want to position the nuke in such a way that everything, especially the well, gets hit. Wells are underestimated in how important they are. You really do want to kill wells as frequently as possible. I think this will actually hit the fort. Okay, it does actually hit the fort. So that's kind of what you want to do. You want to make sure you get the well, and you want to get the damage on the entire wall and the fort. Even though the middle does more damage, you don't want to... I hate it when this happens. This only happens with the default Blizzard UI. You click on someone and you're like locked to their camera for a little bit. You don't want to like get greedy and put the center on the fort directly, because then the wall won't take damage. Getting the nuke on the middle wall allows you to take the wall down very quickly. If you take one tower down, a single minion wave can basically take the other one down, because there's not going to be enough ammo or health left. But you don't want to do it on the middle fort. This should have been positioned basically the same way, but down here. Or up here. It doesn't actually matter, as long as you're focusing on the sidelines. The reason the sidelines are more important is because they have bosses. Right? There's a top boss here and a mid boss here. This boss will push the bottom lane, the top boss will push the top lane. The bosses, just like on Cursed Hollow, can end up just winning the game for you in the late game, which means the more pushed in the side lanes are, the more likely that is to secure a victory for you. You just never nuke mid. Sometimes there's an argument for nuking mid if you like desperately are behind in experience and you just need, like, let's say you've gotten both forts already, but they're 10 and you're not somehow, and you're like level 8 or level 9. You can nuke mid just for the free experience, because you're not going to be able to get deep enough. And if you don't nuke mid, then you're going to give up the next round of nukes for free, because you don't want to fight 10v8 or 10v9. Like that's a niche scenario. It does exist, or niche scenario. It does exist, but it's so incredibly rare. This is another example where rotating safely was actually not a good decision. If you have an escape, you can afford to rotate more dangerously. If you have HP, you can afford to rotate more dangerously. If EDC had come up through the fog here, Sylvanas would have eat out right into him because he would have been here instead of here, and you could have just queued her and she would be dead. Is there actually a map where you want to push mid? No. There's really not, let me think about it. There's really not a map, I think, where mid is a good lane to push. Sometimes it's not a bad lane. Like, sometimes it doesn't matter. On Garden, it doesn't really matter. Right? All of the lanes have mercenary camps. There's 2 siege camps that push mid. And then both top and bot have a siege camp and a bruiser camp that push them. Right? So it's just a matter of... Bottom lane's a little more important if you're on the left-hand side. Top lane's a little bit more important if you're on the right-hand side. I really don't think there's a map where mid's a good lane to push. You just want the soak. Haunted Mines doesn't have a mid lane. People die a lot in Korean HL, by the way. Korean players are a lot more aggressive, just as a rule. The average deaths in Korean games, in my experience, are much higher. But they also do more with each death. Like, usually there'll be a trade 1-for-1. Oh, that was a bad cue to miss. Another example of not taking your 7 talent. I don't think this would have made a difference, but if that had been like if that had been like frostbitten for the extra damage, might have happened. Also, something that doesn't get talked about. We're gonna go back to the same conversation. Look at all this. Like, imagine the mid keep is dead. Imagine this fort's dead. This is dead. The mid keep's dead. You're pushing mid. There's a tower here and a tower here. So your maneuverability is just this area. If you don't want to get shot by anything, these are the only places where you can stand and not get shot by anything except core. Right? That's pretty limited. If this keep is dead and this keep's alive and you're trying to end, this is the area plus like this area where you can stand and not get hit by anything. That's a lot more area. So if you're trying to duel in their base under their core and end the game, it's far better to have one of the side keeps dead than it is the mid keep, because it gives you more room to maneuver around inside their base. That should be a dead Dahaka. Polymorph? 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 Was Polymorph available? Oh, we can't check. Right. This is another reason I don't like doing replay review on older games, because I have to use the Blizzard default UI and I can't check things like, was Polymorph available?
Hero slain. Warhead complete.
Nice. If he actually gets out of this, that would be amazing. Polymorph? Polymorph? Pixie Dust? I feel like this Brightwing is not optimizing Brightwing's kit, because I'm not seeing her do like the save mechanics. Tap, come back in. Q should be available here in a second, so there should be a free kill on Dahaka. Nice. Speed metal's pretty good. Honestly, if you have a Leoric, if you're against a Tassadar or have a Tassadar, or if you're against Leoric or have a Leoric, Crowd Surfer just instantly gives you value because it allows you to slide through Entomb and Force Wall, which can often be really, really important when you have those heroes in the match. We We actually saw an example, I believe, in an EU game where they had Leoric ETC. I think it was actually Breeze, and he took Crowd Surfer and he slid through Leoric's Entombs for multi-man stuns because you'd get the Entomb, and it was such an easy setup. And Leoric could play very, very aggressively, and then ETC was there with the follow-up. I think that Speed Metal is the easiest talent to play with at that tier, by far. So if you're not particularly good at ETC, unless you're like an ETC main, you should just go Speed Metal all the time because it's just so easy to play with. It just makes everything a little bit easier, a little bit better, and you don't have to think about it too much. Loudspeakers is the best peel talent and the best contest the point talent. Probably overall the best tanking talent at that tier. Level 7's pretty straightforward, you just always go Echo Pedal. But all 4 talents at level 4 in ETC are actually pretty decent.
Hero slain. Hero slain.
Nice catch on the sill. Don't ever go this heroic. Graviton Surge is like a double the cooldown. Not quite double the cooldown, but double the cooldown of Expulsion Zone. And does no damage and has far less playmaking potential. You should just always go Expulsion Zone. Nice, that actually hit the slow. Unfortunately, Q is not available. So Lily gets out alive. This is fine, though. Zarya should back up here. As soon as your shield expires on Zarya, if you're tanking a building, just back up, and whoever the building re-aggro's on, shield them with Shield Ally. You're not going to lose that much damage, and there's no reason to just sit there and take all that damage for free. Zarya could easily be at half health right now instead of a quarter, and would have even more energy, and the building would still be dead. Wow. Wow. They just stood in that blizzard and then got slid. Alright, normally that goes in the other order, but whatever works. Feels bad no one followed up on the slide. Again, Brightwing probably had Poly there and could have polyed the Vala after the power slide for more lockdown. And if Zarya had been paying attention and had had Expulsion Zone, that would be a dead Vala. This is silly. So they're defending against the global on Dahaka here, essentially, but you gotta remember that Dahaka, you're not gonna win. You're not gonna win defending. This is another example of playing to not lose as opposed to playing to win. Dahaka's top, and you're all bottom. Well, Dahaka gets pushed top for free. Let's go get the keep. Right? There's no reason for everyone to rotate top, including the 3 people who were bottom, or just do boss. Now they're getting him all the way up here. Nice juke by Dahaka on the slow. Worth noting that Expulsion Zone would also secure this kill, but would have also done damage. Actually, Expulsion Zone would have been better at securing the kill. Where did ETC go? Must have clicked the mini-map. That's pretty funny. Here, League players always tunnel vision on defending their own stuff. I think a lot of players, like regardless of what mode you're playing in, tunnel vision on defending their own stuff. I see it a lot in amateur tournaments as well. Like, the Korean meta on 2-lane maps, where you're a lot of the time going to go 1-4, like on BOE, you'll see both forts dead. You'll see one fort dead bottom and one fort dead top before the first Immortal. Why? Because they go 4-1 and then just pushes 4 and they pushes 4. You're done. A lot of people think that's like a coin flip thing. You're guessing where they're going to go. It's actually not. What the teams are doing is evaluating who has the better early game. And if you have the better early game, you go to the favorable lane for you. There is technically a slight asymmetry on BOE that makes one lane more favorable than the other one. Because the minions get there faster than for one side than the other. And you just push that lane. So both teams lose a fort before the first Immortal. And then the other person's just playing defensively and not dying while trying to stay in range of the soak. Spawnus is dead. Daka's again trying to be annoying. This is another instance where Expulsion Zone would 100% secure this kill. Looks like they're gonna get it anyway. I really do like Expulsion Zone. You guys couldn't tell. Nice. You're body blocking this area. Actually, that was a decent disengage Sunder. Jaina can keep him slowed. Has lingering. She can just Q him. Missed it. It's okay. Samura's on the ball. This is a situation where if you were going to use a nuke, you would just nuke like here so that the tower was included, but the middle section was on the fort so you can get the full value. So we're just going to clear. This clearing's okay, but you have a talent. They currently have a talent tier advantage and a numbers advantage, and they're just clearing. They could be doing boss. They're gonna grab their own camp. It's fine. And they're just grabbing camps. They failed to press the advantage, so the best thing they can do is play safely. ETC has stage dive, so you can stay out and push top. There's actually no reason for him to do anything but push top right now. They see them down here, that's fine. He can stage dive in if his team engages, but he can just stay here, get the last globe for his quest. Whatever. He can clear mid too. Okay, so as soon as his team's here, this should be a stage dive. This is this entire team rotated down for this fight. He could stage dive here to like cut off the path of retreat. If he's looking at this. This is one of those situations where minimap awareness is really important. As soon as you get here as EDC and you see where the wave is, you hit E, know you'll keep auto-attacking it, and then click down here and watch for the opportunity to stage dive. You could still stage dive. You could still secure 2 kills right here. Okay. Finally gets it. It should be an easy Dahaka kill. Expulsion Zone right here would again secure the kill 100%, but it's going to die anyway. Do boss. Actually, with 3 people down, you can probably get the keep, especially with 2 nukes. So this is, again, another scenario. The correct decision here is not to nuke right away. It's to get the wall first, and then nuke here, so that the side, put both nukes here so the keep dies and the side tower dies for free. So the keep would be dead right now. And the tower would be dead. Getting the keep is important. Getting the tower actually does matter, though, because you want the catapults to be threatening core directly, not just having to go through the tower first. They will, some maps they won't aggro the tower. They'll like wander around this way. Getting a keep there is a really easy advantage. They actually shouldn't have backed up, because Sylvanas didn't back. Sylvanas was still visible. They could have just kept pushing, forcing everyone to back. Especially with the talent tier advantage, it would have been okay to fight underneath core. Especially because Ring was going to be available, as was Graviton Surge. Graviton Surge into Ring, decent synergy.
Assigning warheads for deployment. Calculating completion.
So they want to stay on the bottom half of the map here because there's 3 nukes on the bottom half of the map. This is just a totally overextended thrall. Should be an easy kill. Jaina's doing a classic thing called feeding. When you're at the late stage of the game, and I'm going to call the late stage of the game post 10 for the vast majority of heroes. If you're a hero who doesn't have individual playmaking ability and an escape, notice there's two things listed here. It's not either or, you need both. You should follow around your tank. Face checking a bush and then dying is the opposite of that. So this should be a dead Thrall because Blizzard should have on top of them. Instead we have a dead Jaina. But it looks like they're going to turn it around, maybe? Missed the stun on Lily. That feels real bad. Polymorph was up! Oh my god, what are these polymorphs? That should be a dead Vala. That ended up working out. Kind of. EDC and Jaina should both be alive, and their whole team should be dead except the Sylvanas, but whatever. It's fine. So the remaining heroes that are alive, this is actually a correct call. The remaining heroes that are alive, if they pick up 3 nukes, can just walk to the core and end the game.
Warhead collection complete. Preparing for next round.
It's worth noting that in that fight, Expulsion Zone would have still gotten those kills, but I think EDC would have actually been saved by pushing everyone away. Still have a talent tier advantage. Briefly. They see the Haka mid, so they have the threat of just ending the game here. They should push this lane with the nukes and just threaten to end. They're pushing in with the catapults, which is fine. The only concern here is that Bladestorm and Graviton aren't available, which is another reason that Graviton's not such a great heroic, because it has such a long cooldown. How does 3 nukes get core? Well, 3 people plus 3 nukes. Please slide. Okay, they slid the Lily. Did not get the cups value this time around. Knock someone out of Blizzard, though. That's not so good. Zarya ends up dying. Mind control. Lol. On an unrelated note, Brightwing needed to go cleanse. You can hold it, but Brightwing needed to go cleanse. It's a dead Brightwing. Should have pixie dusted herself. That was an ugly fight. God, that fight was bad. That fight was so bad. And again, this is the reason that long cooldown heroics are sometimes worse than short cooldown heroics. If Bladestorm had been up for the Graviton Surge, which had just barely come up, that fight would have gone a little bit better. Could have delayed. There was a wall bot lane. Oh yeah, there was. There was a wall. It's dead now, but there was a wall like right here that showed you guys come. That shouldn't have mattered though, right? You still had a scaling advantage. But this is why I hate walls, though. They do get vision. Vision's a critical resource. That's a wasted strafe, really. This fort is gone, by the way. For those of you who don't understand that this fort is gone, this fort is absolutely gone. Wall MVP. Do we want to go back and like name the wall? Call it Wally. Give it an adorable name. So this is what we call the trickle-in team fight, where people trickle in one at a time. Some of them get chunked and back up and don't die, and some of them just die for free. Usually the trickle-in team fight results in losing games, but in this case apparently it's going to result in getting everyone low and then losing the game. This is a waste of a nuke. You can't disable core with Sylvanas, but you can disable keep with Sylvanas. There's no reason to nuke the keep there.
Red team has destroyed a fort. Blue team's core is under attack. Red team.
If anyone was curious, 3 nukes is basically enough to completely kill a core. If you have like, if you have 3 nukes, you automatically have 3 heroes, right? 3 heroes plus 3 nukes is basically enough to kill a core if all you're fighting is the core. Which is why I said earlier that if they just went and got the nukes and went to core, they could probably just end.